Well, welcome to the Castlescapes and Clones presents the WandaVision podcast. We're workshopping it. We're workshopping it. We don't quite know
We don't know.
exactly what we're calling it, but it is our first show about WandaVision, which aired today. And I don't know how many of you stayed up until midnight, but I did. And anyway, we're just going to kind of go through the two episodes that aired last night and then kind of throw out some broader questions. But before we do that, if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, and do like this post. It really does help us out. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm Loren. I'm the host of Loren's Adventures It's Out There and Marvel Mavens. And Loren's Adventures Out There, we do a lot of unboxing, a lot of hauls, a lot of reviews, a lot of just general Disney conversation. And then Marvel Mavens is more for the Marvel conversation. So, and I'm here with my cousin and co-pilot, Rich.
Hello, I'm Rich. I'm also a co-host of the normal Castlescapes and Clones podcast and
Yes.
host of Castlescapes and Clones Cuisine, which is the cooking show that, for the most part, focuses on Disney-related food. And also Hyperspace Hijinks, which is a lot of Star Wars content. So also unboxing, but like books, toys, video games, stuff like that. So yep.
So all right, well, let's get to episode 1. I thought I'd just give a short recap. We open up with the theme song.
Let's start with spoilers. If you have not seen the episode, we are going to talk in detail about the episode.
Yes. So be sure to come back if you haven't watched the episodes already.
Yeah.
Otherwise, let's proceed ahead. And so I give a short recap of episode 1. And it opens up with the theme song, which is by Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, which many of you who are Disney fans know them for Frozen 2, Coco. They've also done other things like Avenue Q. And so just a great writing duo to come up with this kind of 1950s vibing theme song. And it's Vision and Wanda. They're coming back from their wedding, and they're moving into this neighborhood, and you know they're trying to be the everyday couple, but you know they've got superpowers. You know they're two of the most powerful heroes in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they go through their day. And they noticed this calendar page that had a heart on it. And they're trying to figure out what it meant. And Wanda thought that it was their anniversary. And Vision, I think, also thought the same thing. But then at work, his boss, who is Mr. Hart, told him that... reminded him that they were making dinner for them. And so Vision, gets all in a tizzy that, this is the reason why we're having this night. And there's all of these kind of like, mistakes that were made where Wanda thinks it's their anniversary, and the husband and wife are over there and they're getting all confused because Wanda is trying to make this magical meal in the other room. And it's very funny. It's hard to explain it all. But anyway, they sit down for dinner and the boss starts pressing them about their lives, and they just can't figure out what their story is, why they're there in town, any of that information. And the boss starts getting really frustrated and starts choking. And he's choking so much, and there's this really tense moment where you're like, is he gonna die? And Wanda tells Vision to help him, saves the boss. The boss is happy, and they end the sitcom, and the credits are rolling, and all of a sudden you see this other room, where this guy with it's like a notebook with the sword logo on it, sitting there, and the episode ends. So that's how episode 1 went. It was bonkers. Like, it's so hard to explain because it's never been done before. Like, I've never seen anything like this before. And I found myself, I don't know about you, but I found myself like really getting into the sitcom itself. Like, I just was laughing along with the gags and things like that. I thought that they did a fantastic job at creating this kind of Donna Reed-esque sitcom.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that's the first thing you notice. Like, it starts out with their typical Marvel intro, like the logo and all that stuff in the typical like widescreen format, but then it goes to a 4:3 format, which is a TV format.
Mm-hmm.
Everything changes. It's black and white. I think they recreated it really well from the kinds of shots that sitcoms do back in the 50s.
Yeah.
Everything's really bright. Everything is kind of all in. It's it's focused on the like living room and kitchen, which is usually kind of how the homes back then are kind of like. Most sitcoms, it's like one main room, then probably the kitchen.
Yeah.
Everything like from the laugh track to the look of the black and white.
The look was just spot on.
And it looks like it's filmed in front of a live studio audience, which according to Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, they did film in front of a live audience. So all those like weird effects, because Wanda has a lot of magical powers. They're like practical effects. Like it's like that, like things on strings, stuff like that. And I think that it's a show that I had to watch twice, because one is the first time you're watching it as a sitcom.
Yes.
Then you realize that, okay, there's something else going on, and then you go back and figure things out. So to speak. But yeah, my first viewing was kind of getting lost in the fact that it's a sitcom. I'm watching a sitcom with Vision and Wanda.
That's exactly what I did too. Like I was like, oh, I in fact, at the end, when they show you the hand of the guy at the very end, I completely forgot for a moment that we weren't watching just a sitcom. I mean, yes, the part with the choking boss was a little bit creepy and strange, but for the most part, I thought that they kept to that sitcom. They really committed to it, and I thought that was really kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, and I think we only had the 2 episodes, but I think when it gets weird it's kind of like the illusions breaking, and that's when things get weird, but then it goes right back to sitcom.
Yeah.
Without missing a beat. Yeah, there's a lot of double meanings, hidden kind of Easter eggy things, which at this point, I don't know if they're Easter eggs or they're clues. So
Yeah.
There's a lot in there, like a lot.
Yeah. You kind of, just when you think that you're not getting some kind of clue, if you watch it again, you'll realize, oh, that there was some kind of hidden meaning in that. I would recommend watching it like at least twice.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to uncover. At first, you just think that you're watching a sitcom, and then, as you go along, you realize, oh, there's more hidden meaning in there.
Yeah, like everything from everything visual to everything that's said. There are a lot of things in there that could just be, something that kind of just in character of these two characters who aren't supposed to be there. So they're also, it's like partly all out of a fish out of water thing, but they're trying to fit in, but they are part of that world, but they're not part of that world. So it's a very strange thing in a good way, because like you said, like I haven't seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot to unpack.
It is.
In these episodes.
It is. It's a lot. All right, well, let's get to some of the questions that I kind of put down here. Why do you think that they can't remember their lives? Like, do you think that Wanda is doing this, or is somebody else doing it to them?
It's both, I think. I think someone's making Wanda do this.
Yeah.
And we get more of that in episode 2.
Yeah.
It's a little different for us, I think, because we also know, especially like more about the Marvel universe or the comic universe than I do, but I know what Scarlet Witch is, most recently famous for, and there's so many things in these 2 episodes that kind of play into the whole House of M thing.
Yeah, especially the last episode.
Yeah, like the wine bottle in the episode
next episode.
Yeah, like the wine bottle in this episode, literally it's French, but it literally translates into House of Misery. So House of M. Is it an Easter egg, just like a callback, or is it a hint?
Yeah, it's too close to say that it was not. It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, and then the whole sword thing is also like, so sword is kind of like the sister agency of SHIELD, right? But they're here to deal with extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
So I mean, like one of the first line is Vision saying something about Wanda and flying saucers.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Right.
That is interesting.
I think this is things I catch after watching it once, going, okay, the sword's in here somewhere. Looking for clues for House M stuff, but then and it's also really picking apart each line of dialogue, because it could mean something different in the grand scheme of things. Because if you think of this as a kind of, if someone is trapping or making Wanda do something, there's a purpose, which means they're trying to it's almost like if you think about the Matrix, right? Everyone in there is in the Earth world is there, but they're really, their minds and their bodies are in this battery factory in the future, but they're living this life normally, but then there's like those glitches and something. And so like, I think that's what's going on, is that it is Wanda doing all this, but someone's either kind of got her in some kind of trance state where, I can imagine her like being hooked up to some like weird chair in some room.
Yeah, like she's kind of. Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. What I'm wondering. I thought that there was a really kind of telling moment when Mr. Hart, the boss at dinner, starts choking.
Mhm.
And I thought that it was interesting why it took them so long to respond. But then Wanda says to Vision, help him. Like she has some level of control. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because he wasn't able to get up and do anything. Like they were just sitting there, like waiting for some kind of, um, instruction. And Wanda is able to burst out of it every so often, but subconsciously she's able to do it. I think that's what my
I
interpretation of that was.
like I think there's also someone trying to help her, like trying to get to her, which
Mm-hmm.
was more prevalent in episode 2, but in episode 1, when Deborah Jo Rupp's Mrs. Hart is saying, like that kind of awkward, stop it, and at first it's like to her husband, but then she
Yeah.
kind of like looks at the camera and you realize she's talking to Wanda.
Right.
Stop it, stop it, right?
Yeah.
And then in episode 2, it's a voice on the radio saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you, and those
Right.
kind of things. And it always comes, both parts come in a part where Wanda's almost snapping out of it because something weird happened.
Yeah.
The heart was choking, and in the second episode, Anya from Buffy was cut her hand, or right. So
Wait, Anya from Buffy. And in the second episode, is that who that was?
Dottie, yes,
Oh my gosh. Okay. I was like, why does she look so familiar to me?
yes, she's from
Oh,
Buffy.
oh my gosh. I should know that I'm like a big Buffy fan. I'm sure I'm uh anyway. But speaking of people who've played people, Deborah Jo Rupp,
I
perfect.
when she walked in, I'm like, oh my god, yes. Like
Yes.
she always feels like she's the mother from a
That
sitcom,
70 shows.
but in another era. Like she definitely fits in this kind of 50s
Yeah, she
kind of thing.
totally felt like a 50s sitcom character.
Yeah,
I thought that she was fantastic.
yeah, and I think because again, I feel like she was like some kind of conduit for whoever is out maybe trying to communicate with Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's also, to me, I noticed that she appears in episode 2, doesn't say anything, but she's
Yeah,
just there without Mr. Hart. Like she's there, but
right.
he's not.
Yeah, that
I mean, it
was
could be
interesting.
because she's a bigger name, but I don't. Nothing in this show I think is coincidence. I think it's all purpose, right? So
Yeah.
but yeah,
I didn't write this question down, but speaking of people who starred in this episode, we cannot go without talking about Catherine Hahn, who plays nosy neighbor Agnes.
yeah.
And what do you think about Agnes? Like, what do you think that she brings to the table?
I think
Or
I think this is why I stopped watching trailers, because you see her in different iterations in the
Mhm,
trailer. I think at one point you see her in a witch outfit too. So,
I think so.
like the trailers make it seem like she's, I don't want to say an antagonist, but they're like she's definitely part of it in a way that I think some of the other characters are not part of it. Like I think
Mhm,
some of the characters are just there as part of whatever illusion that Wanda or whoever is making, but the Agnes part of it is an actual person or something that's, I think, there to almost make sure that Wanda uh like keeps thinking that she's in the sitcom.
mhm.
um because her first appearance is right after Vision and Wanda are like trying to figure out like what is this thing we're here to do, and then she just pops up and gives her the idea it's an anniversary or whatever.
Yeah,
And the second episode, it's after she finds that thing and we'll get into that later, but like she pops up again to kind of like bring her back.
I know, it's interesting.
So, and you know, I've been kind of looking at different things, looking up things, and you know, the theory is that she's what's her face, Agatha Harkness.
Yeah.
And there is a thing in episode 2 that kind of solidifies that she is probably this character.
Right. Agatha Harkness in the comics was her mentor, but then betrayed her to Mephisto, the devil, and you know, she became the kind of nanny for the two children, and
isn't she also the nanny for like Franklin Richards?
I think he was, actually. Now that I think of it, now I can't remember, but I think she was, actually.
Yeah, so that's why like I can see, you know, because like her character is like an ally, but then betrays her in the comics, and it seems like she's definitely, I don't know if this would be a betrayal, but there's something more sinister about her from the trailer, or at least it seems like it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's kind of why I wish I could never saw the trailer. I wouldn't like to have that connection of like, oh, she's in some future episode, she's gonna be like this. So like, I already like had this like, do we trust her? Do we not trust her?
Yeah.
Where's Ralph?
Maybe yeah, exactly. Where's Ralph? Maybe that was their intention, was to like make us not trust her.
Maybe. I mean, you know, like I said, I don't think anything is. Well, trailers are weird because usually the creative people don't make the trailers, but
right.
You know, I mean, the trailers make you also realize that there's something else going on in this show. But yeah, I like her character because then you're just always like, what is she saying? Like that's another one where everything she's saying, you're just like, what is she really
what does it
saying?
mean? Exactly.
So
yeah, very good character. Who do you think is the mysterious hand at the end? Do you think he's friend or foe?
I don't know. Like, I mean, it's very obvious it's Sword. You know, and I'm trying to think in like the cinematic universe, have we met anyone actually from Sword?
No, not yet.
I mean, we kind of met. What's her name? Brand. Who's the head of Sword for a little bit? Can't remember her first name. Green hair.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. She was never the head of Sword in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She was just
right. But I mean, she has a name associated with Sword, so that's the only thing we kind of got in the live action.
Yeah.
At least that's why. At least I think. I can't. So I don't know who it is. I think because it. I mean, so the cool thing I thought about with this episode versus the second one. Why I'm glad they played 2 episodes, because there's like you can see the differences in both episodes. Definitely. Is that episode 1 ended weirdly with, like, I thought the first part that was weird with the ending was that like Vision had a remote control and kind of turned off the sitcom, but then it, you know, pulls back into widescreen and color, and you realize it's an actual TV set. Someone's watching it. There's a Sword logo on a notebook. But the other interesting thing to me is that there were credits that are not the same credits for the actual show. So there are this writer, this producer, director, music coordinator for this fake show.
Yeah, Babs McBee.
Yeah, right.
I remember that one.
And the one, like Abe something
Brown.
now. Yeah, that character exists in the Marvel Cinematic Universe already, because it's one of the kids from Spider-Man.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So again, I can't think coincidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They just pulled this name out of nowhere, and like no one knew that there was an Abe Brown or whatever already
Right.
as a character in the cinematic universe.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so I was like, there's no big significance to that character except the fact that this kid goes to school with Peter Parker and was on that debate team with them, so he's smart, I guess.
Yeah.
But again, I thought I did look up the other names and I couldn't find anything else on anyone else, but that's the one name that came up, and that's
Interesting.
the producer or the director of the show.
I think it was the producer. Because I think Babs Migby was the director.
Okay, so one of those two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
Be part of. I don't know if it's gonna be a new character that we're gonna meet.
Yeah, I mean,
I
wonder if there are some members of Sword that are enemies and some that are friends, and I wonder if this is one of these people who are, controlling the scenes that are, still part of Shield. I mean, Shield, Sword, but not working with the other people.
Right. Could be
Yeah.
like a plant. I mean, like, Hydra infiltrated Shield.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly it. So we never know. We never know. Well, I guess we'll know.
Well,
in 8 weeks.
hopefully, in the next 2 months, this will all unravel, and we'll get more
information.
More information. Yeah.
All right. Well, was there any part of the episode that was your favorite
part? It's a weird thing because it's a sitcom, so it's not like I can go and talk about any other sitcom. What's your favorite part of Friends? I don't know, the episode or like this one joke, but what I'll say, the things that stand out and the thing that is interesting is that they made commercials. And both commercials star the same two people.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things I observed, and it's the first commercial was for a toaster from Stark Industries. But it's also the first time we see color.
What's that?
Yes. So the toaster 2000 or whatever, when they put the bread in, it's fine, and then they go like, you can make meatloaf and something, and then open faced cheese sandwiches, which I was like, that's a weird sandwich. And then they cut back to the toaster, and the little blinking light has turned red.
Oh, that's right.
And I can't take credit for this observation, but the story of both Wanda and Pietro in the cinematic universe is that they were a Sokovian, and they were watching a Stark bomb in front of them as kids that are just waiting for it to go off. Yeah. And the toaster is just doing this beep, beep, and it's this awkward moment where you're just waiting for it.
That's interesting. Right? I didn't think about that.
And then the line is like, forget the past, look to the future. Stark Industries toaster.
And then the second commercial in episode 2 was for Strucker Swiss time pieces.
Yeah.
And as we know, Baron von Strucker was the one who experimented on them and gave them their powers through the Mind Stone. And
the slogan line for that was, he's here to help. Or something like that. It's I can't remember the exact line, but it's like something like, he's here to help or something.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But again, it's the same two people. So, you know, at some point, that's going to make some kind of significance.
Right.
What it is, I don't know. But it seems to be things from specifically Wanda's past.
Yes.
So, yeah.
It's a very interesting.
Yeah.
My favorite thing, or did you have any other favorite parts?
Yeah, those were. That's the thing that like stood out. Like it's funny because I wondered when that episode started. I wonder if they're gonna go to commercial breaks because there's always like the way sitcoms are kind of structured. There's always kind of the break in the plot is where the commercial would go.
Yeah.
Right, and usually there's this specific like. That's how you can tell it's a sitcom. Like there's these specific, they have to get to a commercial. So the scene will have to end in some kind of stinger way where there's like a period to it and then transition to commercial and then go back to whatever's going on. Because usually there's some kind of like time jump, you know, minutes, hours, whatever, or location jump after commercials. And I'm glad we got them, and then more glad that it also seems to be some kind of clue or something.
Yeah. Totally. Well, my favorite part actually were the parts with Agnes and Wanda. I just thought that those were like very, very sitcom-y. Like I could imagine that in a Donna Reed episode. And I mean, the two of them were spectacular, both Elizabeth Olsen and Catherine Hahn. I just thought that they were just, I mean, they captured the spirit of the era so well.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, especially Elizabeth Olsen was, I mean, she could have been Donna Reed. I mean, she was spectacular. I thought that, you know.
She does come from sitcom royalty.
Yes. I know, it is very funny to think that she is the younger sister of the Olsen twins. That's the funny part. But oh well.
Yeah, like there's a very specific cadence that those old shows have, and they have it down. Like especially the scenes with those two. Like it feels definitely straight out of that era.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other observations about episode 1? What we moved it to?
I mean, everything is kind of like both, right? Like there's a cast of characters that are in both. We already mentioned it. Like Mrs. Hart is one. Norm, who is Vision's co-worker.
Yeah.
I guess. Like I wonder if there's like that's thing's funny that he's explaining like what do they do at their job, and there is no actual purpose except for he says production is increased by 300%
since he started there.
And all it is a computation something is what their
computational forms. They make computational forms.
So I'm wondering if this is also part of that plan. Like maybe I mean, you know, obviously Wanda's involved, but I think why Vision's involved, I think because Wanda can maybe channel Vision somehow.
Yeah, maybe.
And they need his computing power for something. You know what I mean? Because that's what he did. Like his job is just to run numbers, like in that thing with no purpose. That's clear. He's just running numbers. And like I said, that guy said, you know, oh, we increased everything by 300%. So I feel like that's also part of it, just so that Vision has an actual part, you know.
Yeah.
A reason why Vision is there, except for, you know, besides the fact that, you know, Wanda's relationship with him. But again,
possibility
adds to the mystery.
Yeah. So much to unravel. Yeah. All right, let's go to episode 2. And in this episode, Wanda and Vision are participating in the neighborhood fundraiser, and Vision is going to be a magician. But before he goes to see, he goes to participate in a what do you call that?
The neighborhood watch.
Yeah, neighborhood watch. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, neighborhood watch. So he goes there. Wanda goes to Dottie's house, where Dottie's like the queen bee of the neighborhood and the organizer of the fundraiser. And Catherine Hahn's character Agnes, tries to implore Wanda to suck up to Dottie, and so Wanda tries to do stuff like that. But first, we'll start with Vision. Vision goes to the thing. He wants to fit in. They give him a piece of gum, and it gets stuck in his gears. So hold on to that part. Back to Wanda at the fundraiser. She is not jiving well with Dottie, and Dottie asks her to clean up at the end. And as they're talking, Dottie starts saying that I've heard things about you. I don't think that you are. I think you're here to hurt us and things like that. And that's when you start hearing this voice over the radio that says, Wanda, come in. Who's doing this to you? And all of a sudden, glass shatters and in Dottie's hand, and her hand is bleeding, but it's bleeding red blood as opposed to the black and white. And so there's a whole mystery behind that. They go to the fundraiser, and Vision has got the gum stuck in his gears, and he's like drunk, and he's trying to do all these magic tricks without actually having using any he's using his powers to do the magic tricks. And Wanda tries to make a reasonable reason for why he can do these things, and it turns out that they were the hit of the neighborhood. Now, this episode also introduces Monica Rambeau, but in this episode, she goes by the name of Geraldine, and so we will see what we can dig up with this episode. Do you think that there is any significance to the loud booms that they keep
hearing? Yeah, I think it's all part of what's the story outside of Wanda. I think there is people who are trying to get to her, in terms of trying to help her and jar her out of this. I think that's part of it.
That's what I was thinking.
And maybe it's Groot.
Could be.
Because it's a tree and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, I take every piece of dialogue and just be like, what does this mean?
Right.
And with Sword involved, and the fact this is going into the multiverse of madness, anything cosmic and almost anything mystical can be part of this narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sword's involved. I mean, it could mean that that they know who the Guardians of the Galaxy are.
Yeah.
And who knows? I just like, oh, it's a tree. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, all right, it's like a typical sitcom misunderstanding scenario. They're like, oh, that's what really it is. But then you start thinking bigger, broader, weird mystery, Marvel conspiracy theory, and you're like,
right.
I mean, it literally could be a tree just trying to trying to get at them. Like, 'cause who knows where they are? Because again, sword can mean space, so that's where she could be.
Maybe.
And Groot.
Maybe a little far-fetched, but but who knows? I could be completely wrong. I'm the most unobservant person, as we've come to know. So, yeah. What did you think the helicopter meant? Like, any significance to the color?
I mean,
Red
color
and gold
is obviously it's the Iron Man colors.
Yes.
And you know, the Stark family, both, I guess the Stark Industries itself has a very significant part of Wanda's life. Again, back to the bomb that her and her brother watched as kids, like terrified of it.
Right.
When she was an Avenger, you know, Tony Stark is the one who kind of split
Leashed
the
her.
team. Well, yeah, leashed her, but like that's the first rift between Vision and Wanda was because of Tony Stark.
True. Yeah, that is true.
So it can't be a coincidence. Like there's some meaning, like Stark Industries is involved in this somehow.
Yeah. I feel like this was Sword trying to send a message. Like, obviously it had the Sword logo on it, but like trying to jar her memory in some way of, you know, Tony Stark. And maybe that is Tony Stark is like something that you know, will agitate her in a way, if that makes sense.
I mean, you know, there's part like it's like, and then at the end, like the last time we saw her was at Tony Stark's funeral, right? So he did sacrifice himself.
Yes.
Spoiler for Endgame.
Yeah. I mean, that's.
But if you're watching this, but I mean, that's why, like, I feel like, you know, and having the sword there, like logo there, so at this point, like, I don't know who's like what's going on, but we do know, like, when she finds a helicopter, that's when Agnes pops back in to jar her out of it, like, and like, here's the star of the show.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
thought
the
that
bunny,
was really interesting.
which from my research, the bunny's name is Scratch, and Agatha Harkness's son is named Nicholas Scratch.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Senor Scratch.
Yeah. So again, that's why I say it's got to be her, because that's again too big of a coincidence that the bunny's name is Scratch, and in the comics, Agatha's son is named Scratch for whatever reason.
I know that Illusion and Glamour, which are the names that Vision and Wanda took in the fundraiser. Those were from Vision and Scarlet Witch, where she had mentored two magicians that were named Glamour and Illusion. So that's a little Easter egg there.
Yeah, there's so many.
Yeah, so many Easter eggs. Yeah, it's very interesting that I was actually surprised. I thought that when Wanda went in, that Agnes would look at the helicopter, but she didn't even seem to notice it was there, which I thought was interesting.
I think that's why it points to, like, she's there. Her purpose is to distract,
to jog her,
to bring her back into the illusion. Yeah. So of course she's not going to, you know, pay any attention to it or like bring the focus to it, because I think that's what her purpose is, to distract. right? Like, oh no, wait, which is this whole thing's a magic trick, and magic tricks are all based upon distraction and sleight of hand and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know if there's like there's got to be a purpose why it's a helicopter. At that part, I can't make any connections off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anything significance to a helicopter.
That's what I was trying to think. I mean, wasn't there a helicopter at the beginning of Iron Man? Iron Man? I can't remember.
Iron Man.
She wouldn't know that. She wouldn't know that helicopter. I don't know.
The only helicopter scene I can think of is Captain America and the helicopter and the I'm like,
yeah.
But again, like I said, I can't say that that's got to be any kind of, unless she was in a Stark helicopter when this all went down, and that's where. And it's again one of those things, like whoever is trying to bring her out of it is trying to remind her of things that happened, and that might be it. Like she might have been in a helicopter.
Yeah, it could be. So much to sort through.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did you think? What do you think was going on with that mysterious voice asking who's doing this to Wanda? I heard that is Randall Park, Jimmy Woo asking.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, did that voice sound familiar to you? Because when I heard it, I automatically thought that was Randall Park. I'm like, that sounds way too much like him.
So he's obviously trying to help her and solve the mystery of what's happening to her.
Yeah, and like we know he's part of the show. I mean, he was part of the announcement.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen him yet. So that probably is his voice. And as like his character is he FBI?
I can't remember if he was an FBI or agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I don't think he's S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, maybe.
I think it's FBI or
maybe FBI.
Something.
Yeah.
But then the other character that we know is in here somewhere is Kat Dennings' character.
Yes.
Who plays Darcy, who is Natalie Portman's
intern.
Yeah, I can't remember Natalie Portman's character name. And
Jane Foster.
Jane Foster. Thor, the mighty Thor.
Yeah.
Which again, like her involvement in it, I thought when they first announced her, I'm like, that's got to be so random. But I feel like this connects not just Doctor Strange, but like this is we kind of glanced over this, but this is the beginning of Phase 4. Like these 2 episodes are the beginning of Phase 4. So I think it's setting up the players. Like I think Sword is going to be a big thing because I think there's a lot more cosmic kind of things. I mean, we already know like Kane the Conqueror is in Ant-Man. Obviously the Doctor Strange thing, but who's to say? Because the next movie also is Thor: Love and Thunder, and somehow Jane Foster is involved with that, which means this could be the tie to that because Darcy's here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In what capacity? Who knows? Maybe Randall Park's character like finds Darcy, and maybe Jane. Like we don't know why Jane is in Thor: Love and Thunder, like because she, as far as we knew, according to Chris Hemsworth, according to Thor, they broke up.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe like she's also looking for Jane, and this happens to be where Randall Park's character is, and then this whole thing with Wanda pops up, and that's why she's there.
Right.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Or I mean, she's an intern, but she does have some knowledge of all that kind of science stuff.
Yeah. Sciencey. She's sciencey.
Sciencey, right?
Yeah. What did you think about the red blood? Like, why do you think it was red after we heard the voice?
I mean, that's what the colors kind of came out. The first color we saw was red. It was in the, like I said, the toaster, the red button, the red blinking light. Iron Man colors,
Iron Man's
red
color,
and gold.
Yeah.
And she is a Scarlet Witch, so
right. Yeah.
It's funny because like I'm watching it going like, oh, it's the Pleasantville effect.
Yeah. I'm still like floored that that's Anya. I'm like, oh, now I'm like replaying it in my head. I'm like, oh my god, that's totally her.
Right. Yeah. But is it red? I mean, is it because Scarlet Witch something, or is there something that reminds her of what happened to her?
And I didn't quite get what she meant when she said, like, how does a housewife get red blood out of a white napkin? She does it herself.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like there's a message in there, but I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
I just don't like.
It's gonna hit me like in another episode where.
Or it could be as simple as it's a message saying like, you have to do this. You have to be the one to bring you out of this.
True.
So
yeah.
I don't know. That's why it's almost feels harder to wait for these episodes because it's the mystery part. It's the unraveling. It's the puzzle pieces that is so intrigue me.
Right. Exactly. There's just so many pieces.
Right? Like the Mandalorian, it's just what's cool? What's gonna happen next? But this is like I have so many questions.
Yeah. The Mandalorian is like straight narrative. Yeah. And this one is more wibbly wobbly. All over the place.
Timey-wimey.
Yeah, timey-wimey.
But it's done. But I mean, just judging by the first 2 episodes, it's so well done that it blows my mind that when they first announced WandaVision, it was like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh my lord. Like, I mean, like the more we learned about it, like when the first time they said, oh, it's going to be like a sitcom, I'm like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Then knowing, like, being comic book fans, I was like, oh my god, what could this mean? Is this like her reality? Like, I think.
Yeah.
And then the whole House of M thing plays, and then all the other things. You're just like, what's going on? Is she going to become the next
If they
antagonist?
didn't pull off these sitcoms, I think it could be another story. But they commit so well to that sitcom structure that you can't help but love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so Monica Rambeau is in this episode, but she calls herself Geraldine. Now, it's funny because she hesitated when she said her name.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, does she know she's Geraldine? Like, there was another trailer where she didn't know who she was.
Right.
And so it's interesting to see, who is she, and what I'm like really curious to know who Monica Rambeau is in this.
Because now I just had a thought, because the helicopter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Monica Rambeau is the daughter of a pilot.
Yes.
And so what if she was the helicopter pilot?
Interesting.
And she's also kind of like, whatever happened, maybe maybe I just thought about this too, like maybe they hadn't, like, somehow they kind of like a helicopter crash, And then Wanda could either also be like because of head trauma, that her mind is creating weirdness, maybe, and also in the real world, and so they're
Right.
trying to do something. But I think maybe
Mm-hmm.
Monica is part of that, like part of the accident, and maybe has amnesia, but she's like engulfed in Wanda's world because of like
Yeah.
proximity or something,
Right.
you know.
So interesting.
So
So
many
interesting.
theories that can
So
come
many
across.
things. Who do you think is the beekeeper?
I don't know. Like, I don't know the
Like,
significance of it.
yeah, like what the significance of bees are.
Yeah, I'm like, is there a character with bees?
Yeah.
um, I'm like, who, like, you know, part of me was like, is that supposed to be kind of like the AIM suit, which is more like a hazmat suit, but because her mind is weird, that she sees it as a beekeeper suit.
Maybe, but it had the sword logo on
Uh,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like,
So everything that comes in there that's weird seems to be sword.
maybe he's the guy who's watching.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's very interesting. What I thought was interesting before the beekeeper came in, uh, they were having a happy moment. Like all of a sudden, Wanda was pregnant, and they hear the noise. The beekeeper, they see the beekeeper, and Wanda says no. And all of a sudden, time is rewound to where they are back in the house. The
Yeah,
you know, she's still pregnant, and then color starts invading the space, and she seems to be as like surprised by the
surprised by it.
color. Yeah. And so that's why, again, does she have some level of control, or what is happening? Like, what, it it's so interesting.
Like, I think, again, I think she does, but but her mind is still jumbled.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's why, like, I feel like there's, like, again, the outside forces. One's trying to pull her in one direction, the other's trying to pull her out of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, like, the clash there is what's the bigger story.
Mm-hmm.
As for why that's happening, who knows? Like, with the crash theory I have, I mean, it could be that they were shot down on purpose, and so they've
Yeah.
been captured by whoever. But who knows? One part of that was like, of this episode, was that whole cult thing of like, for the children.
Yeah, that was really
But then
creepy.
when Vision says it, all of a sudden, Wanda's pregnant, and we, from the comics, at least, we know that and also for the trailer, there's 2 babies.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for the children is plural. So is it something to do
Hmm.
with that as well?
God, I didn't even think about that. Oh my God.
I mean, like, literally, I watched it right before this, so I was like going like, in my
Yeah, I didn't
like
even put two
my
and two together.
yeah, my second viewing, I was just like looking at everything, and like I was like literally pausing and looking stuff up at the same time. So
Right.
I went through a pretty deep dive before before we recorded this,
Good for
looking into
you.
things.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that's interesting for the children. And then they are having children.
Yeah, because
And they're
like
going to go to the 70s next.
the 70s were like, is it 70s? Do we know
Yeah,
for sure?
because episode 1 was 50s. This episode 2 was 60s. And Bewitched.
Is that the
So the
60s,
next
or
one,
is it like late 50s, early 60s?
Bewitched is 60s.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're gonna go to Brady Bunch next. um,
I want them to do Full House.
I think that they are going to do a parody of full. I mean, like
I feel like that had to be part of the
of
conversation at some
yeah.
point.
Well, what was it? Jimmy Kimmel was saying something like, they're doing a parody of Full House, which starred her sisters. So it would go to show that that Uncle Joey
oh yeah, that's right.
be making a special appearance on WandaVision. That would be funny if he did. Oh my gosh.
I think that'd be like. I mean, like we know how much of a Disney fan John Stamos is.
Yeah.
I'd imagine he's like all aspects of it. So it'd be cool to actually bring him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Uncle Jesse.
That would be really cool.
And also, what do you say? I think he also said also Joey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is Joey the mastermind or something?
Yeah, he's the guy behind the.
He's the guy. Or in a twist of fate, it's Bob Saget.
Yeah. That would be really funny. All right. Well, did you have a favorite part of episode 2?
Like, it's funny. Like this one, I have a specific one, and it's the animation showing the gum going down.
I know.
Down Vision's throat, because like it's funny because like you see that he's run by a nuclear heart or whatever.
Yeah.
And I like how it's like that Carl machinery cartoon like of gum gets like everywhere and gunks it up.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that causes him to be drunk.
Right. Like, exactly.
It's not.
Oh, go ahead.
It's not like it's not that he can't walk or move or whatever. It's literally he just becomes drunk.
He's drunk, yeah. And I thought he did a fantastic job in that scene. That was my favorite scene. Was when he was, flourish.
This your card?
Yeah. He goes, that's it. It's what? That's my card. Well, okay, have it back. It was very funny. Paul Bettany also does a fantastic job.
Oh, yeah.
These episodes.
I mean, like, both of them are excellent. Like, I've always been a fan of Paul Bettany since I saw him in Knight's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Chaucer. So good.
Yeah.
But, yeah. I mean, like, yeah. And that's my second. I really like that part where, again, it works on a sitcom level. Like, if there's nothing else, it works as a very funny episode of a sitcom that took place around the time of Bewitched. Complete with the... I mean, we had to, like, talk about the Bewitched style beginning, because it was totally an homage to
Bewitched.
Yeah,
when it starts out with the moon, and then
and it's like like another observation is like, not only is it a different sitcom that they're kind of paying homage to, the house is different, the neighborhood's different, the setting, like, it's because like in the first one everything's kind of in, like, when you see the house, it's broad daylight, everything's bright. The time we see the house in this episode, it was always at night or dark.
Right. Yes.
And the first house was 1 story. The second house was 2 stories.
2 stories. Yeah. They had that big staircase in the middle of
and it was a different living room. So they committed to, like, it's not the same sitcom. It's a totally different sitcom. So
yeah, they did such a good job.
With a different theme song also.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll change. I mean, it would stand to reason that they would change the theme song for each era, because different eras, obviously.
Right.
Any other observations that you have about episode 2?
I like the the scene where he goes to the neighborhood watch.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I feel like when he starts asking like actual questions about things, and everyone there is kind of like, you're weird.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like Vision. Like, I don't know where Vision plays a part in Wanda's mind. If he's like, part of him is there because of their connection or whatever, but like he's asking questions, they're kind of like weirded out by it, but then they go back to this whole like, oh, we thought you were being serious, and like almost like another distraction from diving into what's really going on.
Yeah.
And then and they give him that gum. Like, it might be again part of the overall plan to keep him from prying too far, right? Because he does have an analytical mind. He can't exaggerate, can't whatever he keeps saying. And I I have a feel like, again, like the cast of characters, like this time around, like some of them were in the title sequence. So
I thought that was really interesting.
Right. So that dude who got fired from the first episode is like still there.
Sherbert was in there.
Sherbert / Herb.
Norm, Agnes.
Like, there's so many, like, just the sitcom alone part of it. Just the fact that guy who got fired from the first, I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
But like when Wanda turns the piano into a cardboard, he's like, that's my grandma's piano. Like, just like these little things in the dialogue that are just hilarious.
Right. They really commit to the sitcom. It's just so funny. It's like sometimes you forget that you're watching a Marvel show. Yeah. Because you've got sucked into the sitcom itself too.
Even including like those weird little adult innuendo jokes.
Oh yes.
That like push it, but like don't, because it's still that era.
Yes.
Like, they would be jokes from that era, and it would be like they always kind of did those kind of things too. So, like, I haven't looked up who the writers were on this show. I mean, it's always in the credits, but I haven't looked at what they've done previously to this. But like, if this whole season turns out to be just as complex as 10 years of Marvel movies that tie together at the end, that then also tie to Doctor Strange, Thor, Guardians 3, Ant-Man, Wasp, and the Quantum Mania, whatever.
Yeah.
Genius. Like, they had to write a sitcom and do all this at the same time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, 2 episodes in, they've knocked it out of the park. Like, wherever they came from, they did an amazing.
They did a really good job. Yeah, I agree, and I can't wait to see other episodes.
I know.
And everybody will be with us for the next 8 weeks as we slog our way through and try to decipher some of these episodes.
Yeah.
So.
Another thing, the length was also different on both these episodes.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
The first one was 30 minutes, including credits. The second one was 37 minutes, including credits. So
they're probably doing like the Mandalorian, where as long as it takes, they're probably like trying to stick to kind of a 30 minutes episode, but at the same time, they're not gonna
especially
stop.
I mean, the credits are actually really long. They're like 5-6 minutes long.
Yeah.
Because they do like, it's weird. They do like the English one, but then they have like a couple other languages at the end where it's like there's no music, there's like silence, and it just keep going. So I was like, because when the first episode ended, I'm like, huh. But then I saw like how much time was left. I'm like, there's still like 7 minutes left. So I like went through the credits, thinking it's going to be like a post credits thing. There is not, but it's just a lot of credits.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I was waiting for something in the middle, but yeah, it's just a lot of credits. So
yeah.
Anyway, well, we've come to the end of our discussion. I thought it was really good. I mean, like you came up with some really good points that now is going to haunt me. I'm going to have to watch the episodes again.
Oh yeah, I'm going to watch them again, and I'm just like really kind of like just go like this time, like look at the backgrounds and stuff. Like there's some stuff I saw online about even just the title sequence, the animated title sequence.
Ooh.
There's a I guess Wanda and Pietro's midwife was like a half cow person.
Yeah.
In the grocery store, in the animated sequence in episode 2 where she's in a grocery store, there's an ad in the back with a cow with that cow's name on it.
Oh my gosh. But I think her name is Bova.
Something like that. It's like Bova milk or something, like Bova dairy.
I'm going to have to look that now. See, I would have to look that.
Yeah. And then like also in that sequence, there's a possible hint to Mephisto. But I was watching it like, I don't know how, like people had to freeze frame these things because it's when Vision is floating through like the closet, like the bathroom, and then the closet where he gets dressed, and he goes down through the floor. In the middle of the floor, there's this weird symbol that are saying that it looks kind of like Mephisto.
Man.
So yeah, but I was like, it's those things. I'm just like, I'm looking at I want to look at every single piece of signage.
Yeah.
Look for symbols. Like even when I was watching my second watch through, I was looking at like the commercials, especially like what else is in those commercials that might lead to something, or like piece of something, or Easter egg or something.
Yeah.
Like I was even looking at like the significance of like clocks and what time it is.
Right.
Like I actually want, like, because I show the calendar with the heart thing, and like, what year is that supposed to take place in? Because you can kind of go back to see if it actually lines up with an actual calendar.
Ooh,
back in those
interesting.
days, right? To
see, like, although we don't know what year.
That's the thing. Like every year, like Wednesday the 14th the 14th will be on a different day. So you can kind of go back to like the 50s and see which year that date falls on a specific day. The same calendar. Just to see if that does anything. Because I'm weird. I know. Is it like that the thing, those things kind of things like, again kind of haunt me, going like, what if this is significant in some way?
That's so funny.
So that's the thing about these first 2 episodes, and it's going to be like that every single week.
Yeah, it's going to be
watch
crazy.
These episodes like 5 times each, just to absorb everything and see if we can get every single piece of info we can.
Yeah, because I watched it the first time, and I just kind of got sucked into the sitcom without really thinking about, all the questions and things like that. And then when I watched it the second time, I'm like, wow, I totally missed this and this and this. And apparently I missed even more. So, anyway.
I mean, like, to be honest, like, to be fair, like, I, in my investigations of what I've noticed, I happen upon other people posting things too. So some of those did come from other places, but like doing the deep dive into research of things I noticed leads me to other things other people have noticed. I'm like, because I didn't catch any of that stuff in the title sequence. I just happened upon it as a thing. I'm like, oh.
That's so crazy. That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look at that again. Anyway, all right. Well, if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, do like this post. You can always reach us at podcasts@castlescapesandclones.com. We'd love to hear your feedback, both good and bad. You can reach me personally on Twitter at Lojav or on Instagram at Loren Javier. How about you, Rich?
You can reach me on Twitter and Instagram at R2Romasanta. I'd also invite you to comment on what your theories are on what's going on in this.
We would
in
love
this
to hear
show.
your theories.
You know, am I bonkers for thinking?
Yeah, because somebody might have another theory that we haven't thought of.
Let's deep dive into all those.
Right. So yeah, definitely leave your comments for sure below. That would be really great. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us, and we will catch you next week. See you later.
Yep. Catch you on the flip side.